Hey, it's Chris. Welcome to my Apple Watch Series 7 review. This beauty right here is the green Apple Watch Series 7, and I got this not because it's necessarily the color I would have chosen, but it was new, I wanted to experience it, and I've ended up really liking it. Here's the thing, it's really subtle. A lot of people have said, hey, that just looks black. And you know what? The casing itself, it does look almost black because it is that subtle. But I've decided I really like this green. I'm a fan of it, but I'm a bigger fan of the bigger screen. The screen here is like 20% bigger, and you're gonna hear a lot of reviewers saying it's insignificant. It doesn't really matter. It's not a reason to upgrade. But I gotta tell you, the very first time I turned this on, saw the initial setup screen, I noticed immediately that the screen was bigger. When I saw the screen to enter the passcode and I saw how big these buttons felt, that's the thing, it feels bigger. It's not about looks, it feels different. It's subtle, but it's more significant than I think people are giving it credit for. By the way, this new watch face is killer. It's really unique. It's easy to tell what time it is, and it's just subtle. It's minimal. It's great. This new modular duo watch face is also pretty cool because it's the first time that you've been able to fit two of these really large complications on the same screen together on a bigger, more immersive display, meaning all the tiny little numbers and labels are gonna be just that much easier to read. The other new watch face is kind of interesting. You know, if you tap on it, then it's gonna move the globe here. It's cool. It's really a traditional watch analog thing that's been made more digital. And I'm not super into analog watches in the first place, at the moment anyways. And so this one, it just appeals less to me, but some people are gonna like it. Now look, this is the calculator app. It's kind of boring, right? But it's nice having these bigger buttons because you're gonna have less mispresses, right? You're gonna be able to hit stuff easier. Now, is that worth upgrading for? I guess that depends if you've had trouble in the past, you know, hitting stuff or being frustrated, entering your passcode and typing it wrong. Things are just easier. It's easier to use. As I'm scrolling through some of these apps here, what you can notice is that they kind of curve at the top and the bottom. That's because of this new screen design. And what's interesting is the way that they designed the bezel, that shrinking of the bezel is really where you get this extra 20% space. And what's really cool is when you look at the screen from an angle, you see the light refracting and you just get a hint of what's on the screen. It's pretty neat. You really notice it in the Photos app, for instance. You can see the bezel has just shrunk so much. I'll try to drop some B-roll in here to just show this versus the Series 6. But yeah, it's more immersive. Let me ask you this. Would you rather have a TV that was 20% bigger, or would you prefer a TV that was 20% smaller? It's kind of that kind of a thing. TV is TV, right? No matter what, but a bigger TV is more immersive. Same thing. And there's some fun things that can be done here. Because the screen's bigger, Apple can fit more text on the screen. And I don't know if it's because of that or just because this is a new version here, but you can set two timers and have two timers going at the same time now, and they're both gonna show up here. That's gonna be really useful. People use that in the kitchen all the time. I mean, there's so many reasons. I use a bunch of timers throughout the day. I would love to have two going at the same time, be able to see them both. So there are some practical upgrades. Let me give you another example of a practical situation where this bigger screen could be an upgrade. Maps. So I don't know how much navigating you do with maps, but if you bike, if you run or jog, you know, if you're outside at all and you're navigating, not using your car, not CarPlay, this can just be great. I mean, let's say you're a tourist and you're walking around and you need to check out where the coffee shop is, right? This is just Cupertino here just to show you. But yeah, check this out on the map here. As I zoom in, you know, I can very clearly see all the different suburbs here around Cupertino. And as I zoom into Apple Park here, you really get a good idea of the details. But it's not just the screen size. This thing is 70% brighter, and yeah, it's noticeable, especially when it's in standby mode. Look at this, here's Control Center. These buttons are now 13% larger. Now, that might sound like a small percentage, but again, when you're coming in here to actually hit the flashlight or to change your focus mode, it's just much easier. And the question in your mind throughout this video is gonna be, okay, easier, better, but it still seems like the same thing. And so in your mind, you're probably trying to figure out, well, is this worth upgrading for? Keep that in mind. We're gonna talk about it at the end. And as you're thinking about it, check this out. This is a full QWERTY keyboard, which is swipeable. I mean, this is pretty cool. If you prefer this, instead of spelling everything out, if you just wanna swipe because it's a little bit faster and you're not in a place where you can do voice dictation, this is really great. Now, it's not like you couldn't message stuff before, but I feel like Apple's building up to maybe adding in Apple Notes on here. Finally, I would love to see that. I feel like we're making progress in that direction. Hey, let me just take this opportunity to say, if you're liking the vibe of this video and you're new around here, why not hit subscribe? Because I've got lots of Apple related content coming out all the time with the same style. Something that's cool here that you can't do on another Apple Watch is get 3 exclusive larger text sizes as well. So settings, display and brightness, and then text size, you can actually up this text, and the top 3 text sizes here are, I believe, exclusive to the Series 7 here with its larger display. And for some people, that is gonna be really important or just nice. You know, if you just wanna glance and your wrist is over here, a little bit larger text size is nice. Again, I wanna reiterate, same Apple Watch experience you love, but better. All right, this is the most crack resistant Apple Watch ever. In the past, I've dinged and dented my Apple Watches before, just doing things like hitting it on the side of a treadmill before, getting a gouge in the screen, and that's not cool. This thing's more durable, and that is cool. Part of that durability comes from having a 50% thicker crystal in the display. 50%, that's not insignificant. Funnily enough, they also say this is dust resistant. So a lot of people I saw on Twitter were like, oh, what's the big deal with that? Water resistant, I get, but dust resistant? Well, look, if you're out on a hike, all right, if you're baking in your kitchen, you got some flour going everywhere, there are some real reasons why you might want that dust resistant, although caveat being, I've never heard of flour killing an Apple Watch in the past. But really, are we gonna complain about something that's a little bit more durable? No. Now the battery life here is 18 hours. I'm gonna say 18 hours still, because that's what it was in the past. And for heavy users, power users, people who do a lot of exercise, if you're tracking your sleep, for instance, you might be like, well, come on, I wish that there was more battery. The battery life was bigger, not just the screen. Maybe that would have felt more practical, but you don't have to be disappointed too much, okay? Because there is faster charging, and that really matters. In my day-to-day routine, because I am somebody who tracks the sleep, that faster charging makes a big difference. Here's a great way to think of it. 8 minutes of charging before bed is enough juice to give you 8 hours of sleep tracking. That's quick. You have 8 minutes, right? You go brush your teeth, you know, you get ready for bed, and in the meantime, this charges and you're ready to track your sleep. Let me just say a word about the colors, because there are other colors besides the green this year. If you're looking at the Starlight and you're like, what is that? Well, what it really is a kind of a combination between silver and gold. It's actually replacing both silver and gold with this one color, Starlight. The new midnight color is replacing the space gray color. And so that's really gonna be your dark neutral option. There's a new blue aluminum, which is gonna replace your old navy aluminum. So there's a new red, the product red, and it's just a little bit deeper of a red. You know, it's subtly different. And green, there has never been a green Apple Watch before. This is brand new. So this, if you're like, which one is gonna stand out a little bit this year, the green is the new one. If you wanna be showing it off to everybody and saying you got the latest, hottest thing. There's actually a bunch of new band colors, and a lot of them, like the Velcro bands, they're designed in a way that they'll go with several different watches. So they're pretty versatile for you if, for instance, you might be getting a different watch next year, but you wanna maintain the versatility of having multiple bands. But if you had some favorite bands before, those are still going to fit on this new Apple Watch Series 7. All right, now check this out. This is the always on mode, and it is brighter than ever before, and I have actually appreciated that. I love this watch face, and I love glancing at it, being able to tell the time and see the date very clearly without having to raise my wrist. So this extra brightness does make a difference, practically. Now, unfortunately, while we did end up with faster wireless charging, which I love, I appreciate, we don't have Qi wireless charging, and Apple still hasn't put together their ecosystem to the point where you could put this on the back of an iPhone and get any reverse charging or anything like that. So of course, this thing's not perfect and there is room for improvement. A lot of people would like to see more than just 1 day of battery life, you know, 2, 3, 4 days, a week's worth of battery. That's the dream someday. But in the meantime, faster charging does have an impact. Now, Apple has a really long list of great watch faces, but you're only gonna ever get Apple watch faces. We still don't have third-party watch faces. I don't know if that's a good or a bad thing. I'm very satisfied, I can tell you, with Apple's watch faces. I don't feel like I really am just dying to have some third-party watch faces that are giving me something that I can't get otherwise. Now, of course, watchOS 8 came out recently. There's some great new features. If you're into cycling, you're finally gonna get to track your workouts a little bit easier, and that includes with fall detection. So falling when you're walking versus falling off of a bike is measured differently by the internal sensors here, and so that's a good thing. There's been some good refinements on a few interesting fronts. You know, in watchOS 8, there's also the option to track your respiratory rate in the sleep app. And so that's good. I guess that's sort of health related, but that's not exclusive, I don't believe, to this new Apple Watch Series 7 here. A lot of people are hoping for new health sensors. Those didn't show up in this model too. So I guess if you had to find something to complain about, you could say, well, hey, you know, this is a health focused device, fitness focused device, and it would have been nice to be able to track some blood glucose levels or something like that. But, you know, maybe that's for the future. Now, what I've got here is a reviewer's sample, okay? This is not my personal Apple Watch. Am I gonna buy a Series 7 now that I've had a chance to check it out? I've been using the Series 6 and I've had every version of the Apple Watch since it debuted. Well, the answer for me is, you know, I really like it. And for me, it feels like it'd be a worthy upgrade. 99% of reviews are gonna tell you this isn't worth upgrading for. I'm gonna be the one person out there saying, no, I like this extra screen space. And for me, it felt so different from the very first time I opened it and turned it on and started using it that I don't want to go back to the Series 6. Isn't that interesting? I really think for most people though, it's probably not gonna compel them to upgrade from the Series 6. And it's kind of the same old story as we have with the iPhones. You know, you're not really meant to upgrade every single year. Apple understands that. And what happens is you buy something and then a bunch of little changes that accumulate over the next 2 or 3 or 4 years suddenly add up to a pretty big change when it comes time to upgrade. And that's definitely the story here with the Series 7. All right, that's it for this video. Drop your comments down below. Let me know if you plan on upgrading or not and why, because we may do a follow-up to this video. Also, my buyer's guide for the new MacBook Pros with the M1 Pro and Max chips is gonna be coming out soon to help you make the right decision. Another great reason to get yourself subscribed. But make sure you're following @DailyTech, spelled Daily Tekk, on Instagram and Twitter and all over the place. Those are linked up down below, and I'll catch you guys in the next video. Later.